everyone, and let me welcome you to our next episode of Pharma Talks. Today, we have a very interesting topic and prominent guests in our studio. Today, we will be talking about AI and its impact on the agencies, on digital business, on the vendors, on the other side of marketing and medical communication for pharma. And we have the amazing guests in our studio. The both guests are from DRCOM company, the company which is working a lot with digital ecosystem, diverse languages, different regulatory realities, and unique challenges. And the most important, this company is the expert of Asian. Bruno Senouci and Gwenael Meneux, please welcome to the studio and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Nataliya, for the invitation. So we are here with Bruno Senouci. We are in a different location. I'm based in France. Actually, I spend most of my career on the other side, I would say, of the business. I used to be with Pharma, so AstraZeneca for 15 years. Before that, I start my career as a marketer in FMCG, but I spent, and this is what also joined us, I spent 6 years working in pharma, commercial pharma in Asia, and now with DRCOM for a bit more than 1 year.
Great. Gwenael, thank you. Bruno, know each other for many years. Please go ahead.
So I'm Bruno. I'm a co-CEO, co-founder. I've been living in Asia for over 30 years in my life. So I've been in that region for a very long time, about 18 years in Vietnam, where I live today from Saigon. And I'm in charge of operations with my colleague, co-CEO, Gwen. So I'm more leaning on the agency operations than on the pharma business side, which explains my role as focusing on operations and innovation.
Amazing. You can see there is a big connection between Europe and Asia, also a big connection between strategy and operations. And being on the agency side, there is like a big challenge nowadays. So let us start to talk a little bit about the challenge, excitement, and opportunity brought to us together with AI domination in digital communication. So let us touch the topic from AI expectation in pharma communication vs AI reality. It's very interesting and very much like very hot topic today. So many conferences, white papers, every LinkedIn page, every article is talking about the disruption, is talking about the change, how pharma is evolving with AI communication. So, but what is actually happening on the ground? Bruno, Gwenael, when you look at your day-to-day work with your clients especially, where does AI genuinely help and where does it falls short?
Yeah, well, let's indeed start talking about AI and how it impacts, because there's indeed a lot of noise and discussions around it. And it's true that AI is a real accelerator. We use it ourselves at various steps of our process. It helps various teams move faster. It helps with drafting, adaptation, translation, obviously, content repurposing, and MLR overall readiness, I would say. But in life science, I mean, speed is never enough. It's not really an industry that's characterized by being speedy in a lot of different ways, because we work in a regulated industry where trust matters and where the products we work for are used by real people and heals and save lives, and we have to be careful about that. And so, pharma is an industry that's being careful, and it's not really about whether AI can create content. I think we've seen that it can. It's more whether we can trust what it outputs in a regulated, heavily regulated environment. And in this industry, AI can't guarantee everything. It can't do accuracy or scientific accuracy. It can help, but it cannot. It doesn't have all the regulatory nuance that is needed. It doesn't always have the right context and the right tone for the right market. So many mistakes that teams make is to treat AI as a shortcut, but in reality, it's a multiplier of whatever process already exists. So if the process is weak, AI scales the weakness. It accelerates noise, inconsistency, and low quality output whenever those processes aren't well optimized. So this is why trust determines whether AI amplifies performance or erodes it. And that's why without human oversight, it can't work. It's part of the quality control, compliance control, and ultimately about the risk management. So another misconception is also that AI can be a magic wand to do all the localization, and it can, and it does help translate, but it doesn't really ensure cultural relevance or local sensitivity. So there's a lot of opportunity, but humans remain accountable for trust. And if the processes aren't well suited, then it just doesn't work in practice, especially in our market where there's a lot of constraints around channel, around the operating model as well, the market, the systems. Yeah, it needs to be led by humans.
You are both sharing this thought, right?
Yeah, on my side, of course, we are sharing, and we are also seeing on the ground those application and also limitation. What I want to add, in my point of view, we are entering into a very interesting phase for AI adoption and AI usage, where we see field that with the current LLM. You have almost at that stage no limit. Like drug development, it's incredible how AI is accelerating drug development. We are not expert. This is not in a field, but I've been, of course, engaged in this in my life. And when you see that the shortcut it can give in terms of drug development from 8 to 10 years to 2 to 3 years, it's incredible. But we also see the limit in some field, like in terms of creation, content production, where, of course, you can accelerate the process. But we also see the limit in terms of quality of output. That can be limited if you only AI-based and with no, I would say, monitoring, human touch on it. For me, what is really key is we see the benefit of AI in summary, aggregating, consolidating data, and it's a major help for medical affairs, for marketing, from a marketer. But when it comes to create emotion, to the creativity, so what you can really add to your clinical data, you will have to have this human input. And here AI, and of course, new model will evolve. We are talking about world model with Yann Lequin and all those very clever guys, and maybe it will come. But for the moment, we see also that another limit that we see is the MLR, all the regulatory review, because you can create as much content as you want at a point of the day. It has to be validated according to the regulation. And for the moment, it's still a human review. So the bottleneck also exists on that. Of course, AI can help, can ease the decision, but still don't also overvalue the human check.
Gwenael, thank you so much. That's a great summary. So from my perspective, I do agree with you, echoing your thoughts that human in the loop is very important. So we even have the abbreviation of this, like HEAL. So the idea here, so the winners of this AI acceleration will be the companies who will create the great intersection of human and AI. So AI native services, agentic AI native services, where human teams teams will be collaborating with the AI agents as a part of their teams. So it means we are moving into the time where we do not exclude the human services, or there is a very wrong myth about the substitution, the entire content supply chain, as we just mentioned, the different elements of this chain, including the MLR, including the localization, the many regulatory work which is different from market to market. This needs to be pre-prepared, the knowledge base needs to be curated. There must be a lot of preparations to be done to make sure AI accelerates. That means that human and AI must work together. And actually, we all know the concept of the modern digital content factory, where AI, agentic intelligence plus human intelligence are creating this acceleration, which we are looking for at every step of this content supply chain. So from the creativity, we know the new LLMs introduced recently, we are very much enhancing the creative work, to the MLR and to the publishing the end result. The myth for today, so I would just to add over there, I had this discussion the last week on the Reuters US Pharma forum, where the marketeers were saying, I will be really pleased and excited then when I will talk to the agent, AI agent, and as a result, it will create a journey, generate the content, and I will see my campaign in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So I think there it is important myth, because it shows us like this big black box of AI tools shouldn't be the black box. Human in the loop means the intersection of human relationships and AI at every step of this journey, of this process. AI accelerates, but we are making the right decisions. I am echoing your thoughts over there. I want with this to move to our next section, where you are the experts, and this is this section called Asia Challenge. Why global not always working there, right, in Asia. So let us move to that, where you are very close, and Bruno just mentioned how many years he's in Asia, and like even now, so based in Saigon, right? So this is the right place. Great. So we are all knowing from global pharma experience that the global playbooks really do not work in Asia, right? So Bruno, Gwenael, can you paint a picture for our listeners of what makes Asia so different from a pharma marketing perspective? Who wants to start first?
I can start, and I will let, I will say, the expert continue as he has a longer standing situation in Asia. On my side, I can start with some of your things and go into the more technical part. But obviously, Asia, sorry, is huge. This is a statement quite easy to say. It concentrates more than half of the global population. But on the other way, it's only 20% of the global healthcare spending. So you can clearly see there an untapped opportunities here, and a growing demand that will come for the healthcare market. Diversity is also a keyword. It also reflects in the medical needs. Of course, I will not here talk about the diversity of ethnicity, population, which is obvious, but what is important for healthcare provider, pharma, is to understand that in the same block of geography, you have a mix of the eldest population in the world, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and the youngest, they are Philippines, Cambodia, India, of course. So you cannot treat them in the same way from a medical perspective. So the medical needs are not the same. So some markets, they should be treated almost as Europe. I've been in Hong Kong, for instance, very close to European population in terms of medical needs, with high prevalence of cancer due to the aging population. Same in South Korea, Taiwan, Japan. In other, like India, Southeast Asia, that is a region that we know very well. Healthcare burden remain a lot on communicable infectious disease, dengue, tuberculosis, respiratory disease due to air quality, with a growing CV and diabetes. So you cannot cluster the same way, and you have to be, I would say, a bit more sophisticated in the way you address those markets. So this is one. The other one also would like to mention, which is also linked to this diversity, is the different health and reimbursement system, because it's not the same approach in terms, if you have, like in China, a state-led universal insurance scheme that cover almost 100% of the population with drug reimbursed into a national scheme. And in India, with a fragmented system, with out-of-pocket, a lot of out-of-pocket share. So the access to those innovative medicine is not the same. So if you translate this in terms of marketing, your targeting will be totally different. Your way of communicating can be fully different. And the last one I would like also to raise will be the difference of launch timing, time access to the drug, which also in the same region, you can have a country like Singapore would have access, a lot of early access programs. So sometimes even for some innovative in earlier access than in Europe countries, and some countries that will have access to this innovative drug in oncology, rare disease, maybe 3-4 years later. So you cannot build fully aligned launch planning and then also a content in the content supply chain you mentioned. You cannot have the one-fits-all approach for those countries. So de-averaging, for me, is a key.
What the picture that paints Gwen is one of fragmentation. It's a very widely fragmented market in many ways. In the other ways where it is fragmented is in the channel ecosystem. Vietnam has their own platform called Zalo. It is also quite famous that China has its own internet, isolated from the rest of the world, but it's also true with Thailand and Japan. They all really heavily online. In some markets, they have Facebook. I mean, the channel ecosystem works very differently from market to market, and the campaign logic built by Western channels simply cannot be replicated as is. I'm talking more about the tactics. The big idea sometimes can, but in terms of tactics, it has to be adapted. The fragmentation goes beyond the channels, however, in some countries, and that's related to the different maturity of brands that we have there. Sometimes the brands are managed directly. Sometimes they're handled by distributors. Sometimes they have, many times actually, different marketing standards, different execution models. They use a different technology, and that leads to further fragmentation. Some countries use different CRM platforms, DAMs, sometimes local, sometimes international providers, or approval workflow systems, some developed in-house from other local suppliers, even within the same company and market, like HCP and healthcare communication teams might use different systems across. So it's all a lot of silos, and it makes integrated execution much harder than it looks on paper. Another problem where we can see this fragmentation is on language, which is a underestimated challenge, because it's not only about machine translation, it's also about cultural and local review. The MLR, the data regulation as well is different and fragmented. In Europe, for example, the AI Act and GDPR governs a lot of countries. Each country here has its own set of rules. On top of that, we also have limited budget. So it means that Asian markets are more limited than Europe, US, and teams are asked to adapt more across more fragmented ecosystems, and often with fewer resources. So we're kind of experts, a bit like the Vietnamese during the war, to do a lot with a lot less.
Bruno, it's amazing. It sounds like a global marketing team do really have the challenge of implementation marketing strategies in Asia, and there are much more than just translation and isolated systems and different knowledge bases and cultural differences, and there are a lot of adaptation needed.